This is the Post Shift Podcast, a raw look at the hospitality industry. Good morning, Post Shifters, and welcome to the official 100th episode of the Post Shift Podcast. It has been 100 wonderful episodes. I count 100, including the Post Shift shot every Tuesday. So while it does say episode 54 in your title, it is actually season 1, episode 100, which I never thought I'd actually get to 100 episodes. I thought that I probably would have given this up ages ago. And if anything, I seem to be taping a lot more podcasts than I have been in 2019. So I have a very, very super special, incredibly privileged to have this person on my podcast. I did a phone interview with none other than Jeffrey Morgenthaler, who is an idol, a peer, a mentor of a lot of industry people out there, especially here in the Pacific Northwest. I've been very fortunate enough to be good friends with him for over a decade now. We actually taped this on January 23rd, which actually coincides with our 10-year anniversary of meeting face-to-face on our trip to Cognac. And so you'll hear a few things about retaping. I originally taped this a couple of weeks ago, and the app I use to tape phone calls, their servers went down, and I completely lost the conversation. But I think we really got back into the groove because I was worried about it not being organic and sort of like losing something from that first recording. But it's Jeffrey frickin' Morgenthaler. So at the end of the day, it was a great episode regardless. So we had a great conversation. I really do love this guy. I think he is the bartender's bartender. I really hope you guys enjoy this episode. Thank you very much for the support over the last year and a bit. I'm already taping a ton of new content for 2020, so it's really blowing up, and I'm really happy that I get a chance to sit down and chat to people. So I hope you enjoy this episode, guys. Have a good week. It's Friday, so have a good shift and have a good weekend. I'll chat to you all really, really soon. Thanks. Bye.
So you know what the cool thing is actually about doing it this week is that it is actually the official 10-year anniversary this week since we went to Cognac.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. Like,
no,
I looked at
10 or 11 years?
2010.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So it's perfect to tell the freaking story of how like we met face to face because we were friends. It's going to be interesting with this one because we've already taped, and so we're going to rehash some stories, but they're good stories. So like the episode where when we first met face to face, and we were in Amsterdam, and we're sitting down having beers, red eye in it. And it's even 10 years ago, it's crazy that 10 years ago you had your blog. I was in Victoria. It was sort of just like Facebook was only 3 years old. Social media was really only 3 years old. And we're going on this trip with freaking Salvatore Calabrese and Peter Dorelli, Francesco LaFaruni, Eric Alper, and like this amazing amount of people. And I know I felt like a huge fraud.
Yeah, me too. I still do, but
do you still have a little bit of imposter syndrome every now and then?
Only when I'm doing like really big things. Like I was on what's it called? Late Night with Seth Meyers last year. Last year? No, year before, I guess. Like a year and a half ago, something like that. And I was like, there's no reason for me to be here. This is.
And did they get in touch with you? Because was this before the book?
It was during the Drinking Distilled.
Okay.
It was a book tour for that. And I was like, what am I doing on national TV? Like, this is completely insane.
This makes no sense whatsoever.
No sense. Makes no sense.
Did Drinking Distilled come out that long ago?
2018.
Oh, wow. So when did Bar Book come out?
2014.
Seriously? Fuck.
Yeah,
isn't it? I always find it super weird that like high schools seem to drag on forever and ever, and then when you get to like your mid-30s, every year blows by really quick.
Yeah, it's because being in your mid-30s is awesome, and being in high school fucking sucks.
Do you want to relive some high school memories?
No, I didn't really do anything in high school. I don't really have any memories.
I did okay in high school. I just decided not to go to university when it was all over.
Yeah, no, I didn't really hang out in high school.
So after you left, well, now we're going to even get past further back in high school. Like, when you left high school, what did you get into? Like, how did you start bartending?
Well, it was a long time after high school. I did 3 years of community college and got my associates in physics. And then
Did you say associate in physics?
Uh-huh.
Really?
My first degree is in physics. And I should have, if I'd taken one more math class, I would have gotten a double in math and physics, but I just didn't feel like taking that last math class, differential equations. And so all my friends did. And now I kind of kick myself because in my office, I could have framed math and physics degrees along with my architecture degree. But whatever.
What made you go from physics to architecture?
Well, I thought I was going to need a lot of math and physics for architecture, but I ended up going to a program that was more of an art program than an engineering program, so I didn't actually need all that math and physics.
Were you good at math and physics?
Yeah, I was great at it.
So it's just one of those curveballs. Like, we've known each other for 15 years, and I never even knew you had a thing in physics.
Well, I mean, how would you? I don't.
Do you have framed in your house?
It's in my office in my house, yeah.
That is awesome.
Next to my architecture degree.
While you're writing books about cocktails.
Yeah, totally.
So you got into architecture. So how old were you when you did start bartending?
24.
Okay, so you did start a little bit later than most. Like the classic, like I left high school, got into serving and busing, and just fell into bartending for a given.
Yeah. Even like among my friends at the time, I was kind of by the time I started bartending, a lot of my friends that were bartenders had already been bartending for like 3 years.
So I know you were working in an office doing interior design and architecture. What sort of drew you to become a bartender full time? Like, it's one of those things, like I got it when I left high school. I had a full diploma, scholarship off the university to do a bachelor's degree in psychology. And I knocked it back and went into bartending, took a year off, and that year's turned into 22 years. And my mother was always so disappointed in me because of it.
Oh, yeah.
Because my younger brother has got like a master's in criminology, and my sister's got a PhD in philosophy. And the older son is, for lack of a better word, for a long time, just a bartender.
Right. Yeah, same. I mean, nobody wants their child to grow up and be a bartender.
So what sort of forced you to take that leap from what most people outside our industry would call a real job to becoming a bartender full time?
Well, I didn't really take a leap from having a real job to being a bartender. I was always a bartender. Even when I was working in architecture offices, I was still a full-time bartender on weekends. I just stopped doing architecture. I didn't give it up and go pursue bartending. I've just always been a bartender. You know what I mean?
What do you find that all the stuff that you did for your architecture skills and stuff come into play when you're working in the industry now? Or not really at all?
I mean, it helps with the learning the design process. Certainly helps when you're designing a cocktail menu or things like that. It's not like it's all for naught. I feel like everything that you learn in your life helps in every other area of your life.
So this was all in Eugene, right?
Yeah, this was all when I lived in Eugene.
How many people live in Eugene?
I think they're up to like 160,000 now.
Okay, so it's about the same size as Victoria.
Let's see here. Yeah, almost 170,000. It was like, when I moved there, it was like, I think it was under 100,000. I'm looking it up.
Because you just need to know now.
Oh, it was 118,000 people in 1992.
Wow.
And now it's almost 170.
And so how'd you make the leap from Eugene? Because how many years did you bartend full time in Eugene?
92 until the end of 2008.
Oh wow!
I started in Portland January 2nd, 2009 was my first day at Clyde Common.
And that's right. You just passed your 11 years, right?
11 years at Clyde, yeah.
I think that's incredible in this day and age because it's notorious. Well, our industry is notoriously nomadic, but to sort of, especially with the success, regardless of its external or internal success of yourself, and just to stay at Clyde Common for 11 years is a testament.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, once you find that place that's just kind of the perfect fit, why would you, I wouldn't leave just for the sake of leaving.
Have you got sort of a different style of outlet with Pepe Le Moco downstairs?
What do you mean?
Pepe Le Moco is definitely different to Clyde Common, and you get to run both bar projects. So you get like the best of both worlds, of what you want out of your career.
Yeah, I guess Pepe's like more of like an intimate cocktail bar, and Clyde's more of like a big, busy, gastropub.
It really is. I find it's always shocking when I think there's always that sort of air when you win awards and stuff, what you kind of think in your head, what the world's best is. And then you walk into some places that have got these nominations and these awards, and you're like, this is absolutely nothing what I expected it to be. And in a great way for me, for Clyde, every time I come to Portland, Clyde's my local. I can go there for breakfast, I can go there for lunch, late night drink, everything I want.
That's really the whole point, is that it's, I mean, most people that go there have no idea that we've won any awards or anything. Just, which is, I think, a good sign for a bar.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like a place. It's designed to be a place where you can just go and hang out.
How'd they find you?
They knew about me from like my website and stuff. I was already pretty well known in Oregon. I mean, even back in like 2008, 2007, 2008, if there was any sort of conversation about bartenders in Oregon or the Pacific Northwest, I came up pretty quickly because my website had been around for a long time.
What sort of pushed you to do the website in the first place? Because when you start, what year did you start the website?
2004.
Which, I think a lot of kids don't understand. 2004, I don't think even Facebook had even started then. I think Facebook was 2006.
There was no Facebook in 2004.
It would have been MySpace.
Yeah, maybe.
It would have been MySpace as the only social media platform, or maybe Twitter.
Right.
But
no, Twitter didn't exist then either.
What was the drive behind starting the website? Because really, I know blogs were popular then and they become popular again, but what was the drive to start JeffreyMorgenthaler.com?
It was really just to share our recipes at the bar with, I guess like our regulars, people that wanted the recipes.
Mm-hmm.
And also a way to I was still doing architecture at that point, so I had my portfolio from school up there, and and that kind of stuff. And then, but it was really just to share information with the world. That was the whole point. It still is the whole point.
Do you post how regularly do you post on the website now?
Pretty regularly.
Yeah.
I don't have a set schedule, but I've been posting regularly for 16 years now.
Wow. Because I remember when your tonic recipes and your ginger beer recipes blew up, and because you just couldn't get good tonic and you couldn't get good ginger beer, it was just the way that the market was at that time.
Still can't get good ginger beer. There's plenty of good tonic out there, but still can't find good ginger beer.
We get a fair chunk of good ginger beer up here in BC. A couple of local purveyors as well make some too.
Yeah.
But I remember, I think it was 2009 when you came up for Art of the Cocktail the first time, and I batched all your stuff for you so that it was made.
Oh yeah, you had to make the ginger beer.
And I had a couple of bottles that had some gunk in them when I was examining them to send them over to you, and I forgot about them. I left them on my side, and then the wife and I
Did you get some explosions or something?
Oh yeah, the wife and I were sitting on the couch one night, and one bottle just blew up. And when we were moving house, like a year later, we were still finding shards of green glass from that one bottle.
No.
It literally obliterated into so many small pieces that it was a cap, the little bit of a neck, and that was it.
Oh, no.
And yeah, the wife has got some great stories about my experiments gone wrong, like marshmallow foam that exploded out of the ISI one time, finding marshmallow foam in weird places when we moved the next time. She's like, "What? How did the marshmallow foam get over here? It was 6 feet away." So,
oh my God.
I just don't do experiments at home anymore. I do it in the bar so that then I can clean it a little bit easier than when I'm doing it in the house.
Right, yeah. I don't experiment at the house much anymore. I used to all the time. Such a nightmare.
Just gets sticky. Everything gets sticky and gross.
Yeah. Oh, God.
So you've been at the forefront of a shit ton of trends going through your career. And I think the key to you being at that forefront has always been your full transparency. Like, as we're talking about the website, like your experiments with barrel aging after coming back from London pretty much blew up, and everybody fucking barrel ages now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And literally 13 years later, people are still barrel aging.
Yeah.
So what sort of...
Not 13 years later, like...
Is it 10?
10 years later, yeah.
Still, like, you go to Manhattan Bar in Singapore, and they have a rick house.
I know.
Barrel-aged cocktails.
How crazy is that?
Did you think it was going to blow up like that when you first did it?
It became really popular really quickly. So yeah, I knew I was onto something. I mean, it's so funny because, like, I remember I had this bartender that just it didn't work out. He was working there, and he just thought everything I did was like fucking stupid. And I remember, and we came up with barrel aging, and I thought it was. I mean, I know right away if something's a good idea or a bad idea. Like I just know. And I remember I put it on the menu, and this guy was like, "That's so stupid," like that is so dumb. And then, like a few months later, it's like in the New York Times, like it's so funny.
And then it's not so dumb anymore.
Not so dumb anymore. Yeah.
I just think it's just. I think I've read articles.
What's that?
I've read articles of people like, I hate barrel aging. I did it once and it didn't work out. And I'm like, well, what did you do? And they're like, I put a Manhattan in a brand new oak barrel for 6 months. Like, did you taste it at all the whole time? They're like, no. I don't pull it up. I'm like, of course it's gross.
Yeah,
what were you thinking?
It was like the saying, like, I mean, it's like, I've seen the, like, backlash, which is like, whatever, it's a dumb thing to get upset about. But it's also like saying, like, whiskey sours suck. Like I tried it and I added like 6 ounces of lemon juice and it tasted like shit. So
yeah.
Or like
everybody
has a whiskey sour on their menu, so whiskey sours suck. You know, it's just like, all right, whatever.
Well,
but usually those things, that sentiment usually comes from people that have never done anything.
And you set out always to like try and find like your Amaretto sour is now like I see Amaretto sours listed on menus now with an overproof bourbon.
Yeah, always.
And they don't even mention you. That's just the way they do Amaretto sours now.
Yeah, that's the cool thing. Like that's how you know something has like become like a thing. Is like it doesn't even. Yeah, I don't even get mentioned. You know,
where's the new house spec? Where's the new house spec?
Right, like that's the goal, right? Like you know, nobody mentions, you know, the penicillin is just a drink that's on menus now. Yeah. Nobody says like Sam Ross's penicillin. It's just like the penicillin is just like a drink that everybody knows. Which is like, that's the goal, right? Like if you really want to contribute to the world of cocktails, you know, the goal is to eventually just not have your name on it anymore and just have it be a thing that everyone, you know, uses and enjoys, which is why we do these things. We don't do it because we want our name. I mean, it's nice. It's always nice when people put my name, you know, like Morgenthaler's Amaretto Sour or whatever. That's always nice, but like, it's not necessary.
Like Tommy's Margaritas.
Like a Tommy's Margarita, yeah.
Morgenthaler's Amaretto Sour. There's actually an Amaretto up here. We got a very famous Amaretto here in BC called Sons of Vancouver, and they do a whole schwackload of barrel aging with their Amarettos. And so they have I got a bottle downstairs, a bottle of their Amaretto aged in Westland peated whiskey barrels.
Yeah, why would you want a smoky Amaretto?
It sounds really weird, but it tastes like a small. Like when you taste straight, it tastes like a small.
Tastes like a what?
Small.
Oh, a s'more. Huh.
Sorry, I speak with a funny accent.
I know, it's that fake English accent that you have.
The fake English accent that I have. So, as an industry mentor, basically to everybody, the one thing that I've loved that you did last year was at the Pour Symposium in London, was saying, like, it's okay to be a bartender, and just a bartender. And sort of your whole talk, I saw it shared everywhere, was really about not rushing into being a brand ambassador or an influencer or all this sort of shit. And you did start a fake Instagram account, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, the whole point wasn't to tell people that they shouldn't be brand ambassadors, but to challenge the definition of success in the bar business, which has been sort of redefined as of late as getting out of the bar business. And so I wanted to, like, you know, get people to sort of like re-examine their definition of what success means, because right now being a successful bartender means not tending bar anymore. And I think that's sad. And I wanted to share a bunch of reasons, a few reasons why bartending has been really good to me in my life and helpful, and why staying behind the bar has taught me numerous life lessons. But the point wasn't to tell people, you know, not to do it, you know, not to do a certain job. The point was to try to get people to examine why they think that they can't be behind the bar for more than a few years. Because every one of those reasons that you hear at fucking cocktail conferences and other, you know, bullshit, you know, there's always some sort of seminar. There's always a million seminars on, like, how to get out of the biz, why you need to get out of the biz, and how impossible it is physically to work in the business, and, you know, how it keeps you from doing this and this and that. And it's not true. I mean, it's not physically impossible tend bar for more than 5 years. I'm testament to that. I'm not some sort of fucking athlete, but I've somehow managed to be behind the bar for almost 24 years now, physically. And I'm not in amazing physical shape, like I take care of myself, but I don't.
It's not like you're waking up at 4:30 in the morning to go to the gym to make sure you're stretched out.
Right. Exactly.
So, why do you think this trend has become sort of so? Do you think it's a social media thing? Do you think that people for me, bartending makes me happy, and I think if you're bartending now and you're not happy, changing up your position or what you're doing, like in the industry, is probably still not going to make you happy.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I also think that there are a lot of there are a lot of people out there that say, if you're having a hard time behind the bar, if you're not enjoying it, you need to quit. And that kind of bothers me too, that this idea that if you have a bad day or a bad week or a bad month, you should just quit your fucking job.
Yeah.
And and for some reason, bartenders are the only people, service industry are the only people we say that to. You would never say to some sort of healthcare provider, if you're having a hard month, you should just fucking quit. You would never say that to the garbage man, right? If you're having a hard week, you should find another. That would be considered extremely rude. But for some reason, we have no problem telling people in the service industry that if it's hard for you to plaster a fucking smile on your face, that you should quit your career. That I'm going through a pretty brutal breakup right now, and it's really unpleasant to go and paste a fucking smile on my face at work because I'm miserable. But I'm not going to quit my fucking job. I'm going to do the best I can, and if and if I'm not at 100%, and somebody comes in and they don't have the most life-changing experience of their lives, getting a fucking amaretto sour from me because maybe I'm not as perky as I would like to be. It's tough shit,
Well, I think that's always the hard thing. Is I think a lot of us get into this business because of passion, and the business side of things is never is something that's a secondary thing until you get older. I think a lot of young bartenders these days get into it because they want to make cocktails and stuff, and I find a lot of them skip a lot of big steps. Bar backing in a nightclub changes your life. Bar backing in nightclubs change your life. Working in a local pub gives you a whole different sense of how to have a conversation with people. And I think everybody, I've got 22-year-old kids who are jumping straight into some of the best cocktail bars in Victoria. I'm you kind of missed some steps. I didn't get a real cocktail bar job, real cocktail bar job, till I was 26, 27. And that was only for a couple of years before I left Australia.
That's also kind of a myth, though. I've seen plenty of kids start with me at age 22, work at a cocktail bar, kind of fall in love with the business and say, I want to experience more, and leave to go work at a neighborhood tavern or a dive bar or club. I've seen plenty of people do it the opposite way. So I think that this idea that everyone's starting at the top is a bit of a myth. That
you can't disagree with. I'm the host. You can't disagree with me.
I know, it's just another one of these. It's another one of these fucking myths perpetuated by old bartenders that wanna. It's not true.
I think it's a little.
I mean, it happens occasionally, but like the opposite is also very true, and nobody talks about that. Like, you know.
So after that talk at the Pour Symposium, you mentioned that a ton of bartenders came up to you and really thanked you for sort of like a positive reinforcement that they're just happy being like working the job that they've got right now. They're not chasing, but they don't feel like they're like FOMOing out on being a brand ambassador or a traveling bartender or an author.
Yeah, it was really nice to get that kind of positive feedback, especially from younger bartenders. That like, I feel like a lot of younger bartenders are being force-fed these ideas from older bartenders, a lot of whom don't work behind the bar anymore, and they get up there and they tell them, you know, all sorts of things about how the world works and how they should do this and do that. And I just, you know, I came from a place of just like, I am an older bartender, and I do still tend bar just like you. Unlike 95% of the people that go and talk at these things. I mean, just look at the lineup at every cocktail conference. Any bartender that's like over 40, you can almost guarantee that they don't work behind the bar anymore. So I think that those guys were kind of refreshed to hear from somebody that actually knows what they're going through. And it was, you know, it definitely kind of filled me up. You know, it was really nice to hear from them, and I think they thought it was nice to hear from me. And it was just like, you know,
it was an amazing, like your. I think it was the one session I've seen videos of you that you were ridiculously animated. You were literally bouncing off the walls.
During
that session. Oh, I'm the same. I'm always terrified when I speak. Like, hard. Like, I can talk and sell when I've got a bar in between me, like a 3-foot piece of wood. But you put me up on stage, and I am terrified. Even though people don't think that.
There's something about that room that, like, really scary to me. Like, I only had, like, 1 cup of coffee that day, too. Like, I was, you know, like, I should have been very calm, but, like, that room was, like, really intense. It was like really hot in there, and there were so many people, and they're crammed in there, like right up to the stage. Like it was like a really, like and they were all bartenders, you know,
rockstar moment sort of thing.
I was really scared. It was tough.
It was an amazing session.
Glad that thanks, man. I was glad that it turned out well, because I was really, and also like the lineup of talent at the Pour Symposium is like crazy, you know. It's like all of these just like people who are like changing the world, and then me, you know, it's like fucking jackass from Portland, Oregon. You know, like there's all these people who are like, you know, combating slavery and, you know, changing ecosystems for the better. It's just like crazy lineup of people, and then just, you know, we're gonna close it out with fucking dipshit Morgenthaler.
But do you think, like, I'm sure you're not going to admit this, but like for me, your bar book changed a lot of the way people did prep. Like there was a lot of, because again, it's one of those things like,
so, I mean, that was the point, you know.
Google's great. Like you can Google anything, and you got a supercomputer in your pocket. But bar book really changed, like to the point that people go, well, Morgenthaler says it should be done this way. I'm like, okay, cool, that's great. I'll text them and tell them that another bartender has told me that his way is better than the way I wanted to get done. But do you find that, as well as just drinks distilled, do you find like this might be a nice moniker for you, but like you're the bartender's bartender?
I mean, maybe, you know, I mean, I am a bartender, that's for sure. And I do aim a lot of this stuff at bartenders, you know, and people that want to make drinks, but really I've always done what I do because I want to help other bartenders. You know, I mean, I know what it was like. I especially like the bartenders that like are really like the most important to me are the ones that are like in small towns, small markets, you know, because I remember what it was like to be a bartender in a small town and didn't have access to, you know, know, like if you're a successful bartender in like New York City, that's great. But you know, like back in the day, being able to just like walk down the streets of Pegu Club and like have an amazing drink and like pick their brain, like, and then you turn out to be somebody that also makes great drinks. It's like maybe less impressive than somebody that comes from a small town. And
well,
like
even Portland, when you first started at Clyde Common, Portland there was like only a handful of cocktail bars. And it was
like us and Teardrops, really, you know.
And really Portland was still not on the map.
Yeah.
Like Seattle was like sort of there, but
coming from Eugene, I had to figure all this stuff out because there wasn't a bar where I could walk down the street to and pick their brain on how they make their grenadine, because nobody had ever made grenadine before, you know. Like,
and the thing is, even then, like you didn't have smartphones. It's not like if you wanted to look stuff up, if you didn't have a laptop, you were going to the library and like clocking in time, paying for internet time to like search this stuff out. Yeah. I come from a really small town in Australia. Even 2005, 2006, I think I got my first laptop in maybe 2005. Yeah, I'm dude, my graduating class in high school, this is how small my town was, in 1997 was 62 kids.
Wow. I
come from a small, I didn't wear shoes till I was 18.
Okay, well now you're just like...
I'm not over exaggerating. I just my town, like my primary school, when I graduated primary school, was only 25 kids in the whole school, 7 grades. So I come from yokel in the sticks in Australia.
Yeah.
I'm just very refined and a gentleman now, ish.
You guys made your own grenadine back then?
Yeah. Oh man, the grenadine, Jesus. Grenadine. So what's your big plans for 2020? I can't believe that Bar Book came out 6 years ago. That blows my mind. I feel like it only came out 2 or 3 years ago, and Drinks Distilled only came out maybe 18 months tops ago.
Right.
It seems like it's just gone so quick.
I know. God, imagine how I feel. My big plan for 2020, I never have a big plan for the year. I just kind of take it as it comes, honestly. I'm just gonna keep doing what I do, which is, plugging away and sharing information and making drinks and working in a bar and managing an amazing staff of people. And, that's just all I've ever done, really.
Is there a spot in the world that you haven't traveled to that you'd like to? Drink-related spot? Have you done Scotland? Have you done Mexico? Have you done all the, brand-esque trips?
I would like to spend more time in Asia. I've only ever been to Hong Kong, and that was in 1987. I've been to Mexico distilleries. I've been to distilleries in Scotland, cognac, obviously, with you. I don't really have much of a desire to go to a bunch more distilleries. I think that if you've seen one distillery, you've kind of seen them all. Mm-hmm. And distilleries are about the least interesting places in the world to me, I know that sounds kind of like sacrilege, that people are just have to go to every distillery, but it's just a bunch of tanks and pipes and, sometimes there's barrels and it's just, they're all the same, it's that's not, it doesn't, I don't feel like it helps me as a bartender seeing exactly how the sausage is made,
mm-hmm.
It really doesn't. I would like to go to more places with, restaurants and bars and see that side of things more
than the production side.
Yeah, I couldn't give two shits about that anymore. It's really boring. But I would like to travel more and go to more old school bars and restaurants and see that, I feel like you can learn so much more at like a steakhouse that's been around for 100 years looking at, getting a peek behind their bar than you can seeing your tequila distillery in 2 days. It's just like, I don't know how that's supposed to help you.
Well, it depends on how much you actually retain after going to 5 distilleries in 2 days.
Well, also, like, what do you take away from that?
So is there another book on the horizon?
Yes, but I can't talk about it. I haven't pitched it yet.
Oh, wow. So it's like fresh.
It's been rolling around for the past, 6 months.
And for bartenders out there who have got a book idea, like I'm actually doing a session next week on how to get published or how to pitch an idea. What's your point? What's your piece of advice when it comes to getting published?
Well, I feel like it's easier to get published when you already have a body of work. I meet so many people that are like, oh, I would love to be a writer.
And then don't do anything.
Well, you just, you should write. They're like, oh, well, I don't think I could get a book deal. It's like, oh, I didn't have a book deal for, I don't know, 14 years or whatever. I wrote on a website. Like, that's how it was very popular and people liked it. And, I wrote on there for well over a decade for free. That's a great way to get started. But I think that's a really good idea for people that want to get a book published is write a whole bunch of stuff.
And your last thought, before we round this up, your last thought for young bartenders out there, if they haven't seen your Pour Symposium talk, what's your last thought for young bartenders out there feeling like they're in a career rut, I suppose is probably the best term to put it?
Well, if you are in a career rut and you would like to see my Pour Symposium talk, you can just go to my website and click on videos, and you can see every video that I've ever been in.
Have you got every video up there?
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. I'll post a link to that, and everybody can go watch your stuff.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you're feeling like you're in a rut and you're a bartender, maybe that would help. I mean, that's what it was. That was my hope. That it would help.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time, man. I know that you're a busy man, and I'm completely 100% grateful that this is my 100th episode of the Mentorship podcast. Yeah, we just had Whiskey Fest the weekend just gone, and I did 8 podcasts in 2 days. 10 podcasts in 4. It's second nature now. So I'm doing another podcast this afternoon, and so it's just this sort of constant: who's in town? Who's in town? Who can I sit down with? Where am I traveling to? I'm going to Vegas for vacation next month, so I'm sitting down with Francesco. I'm sitting down with Andrew Pollard. I'm sitting down with Tobin.
Yeah. Well, you're very natural. You're very good at it.
Oh, thanks, buddy. I try to be. I just like to be honest. Like, I fanboy out pretty hard, even with you. Like, I class you as a good friend, but still as a mentor and a peer, I still look up your stuff. Your grenadine recipe is the same grenadine recipe that I use for all the consulting jobs I do. And, it's crazy. Your Sangrita recipe as well back in the day.
We just made that the other day. One of my
fucking tasty saw
it in the book, and she was like, "What is that?" And I told her about it. She's like, "Can you make one?" And so I hadn't made it in years and years. I made it, and we were all just like, "Yeah, this is really pretty good."
Yeah. Well, when I opened up Cafe Mexico, we had 3 different styles of Sangrita. So we had authentic, we had Americano, and we had a nouveau version that we sort of rotated through and played with tomatillos and stuff like that. So, yeah, your Sangrita was on the menu for a long time.
I love that. Thanks, man.
Yeah. So, but thanks again, buddy. I will.
Of course.
I'd love to. The wife's still on my back about coming to Portland, so I got to come to Portland and just hang out with you for a couple of days.
I would love that. Anytime.
Hey, my friend. I'll chat to you soon. Okay.
Okay, Shawn. Thanks so much.
Thanks, buddy. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Pour Shifters. I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you're listening, whatever platform you're on, give me a good rating, subscribe, listen along. I'm going to keep going. I really enjoy sitting down with people and learning where they're from, what they did, and how they got to where they were. So if you love it, give me a good 5 stars. If you don't, give me 1 and I'll try harder.